planning commission meeting for January 21st for the village of Franklin. We'll go ahead and do a roll call, starting from the right, going left.
Paul Brakeman, present.
Quincy Harrison, present.
Stuart Wooters, present.
Pete Halleck, present.
Sarah Greslick, present.
Jeremy Werner, present.
All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to our code enforcer as well as our village inspector that are here visiting with us today. So looking forward to hearing from you later. So appreciate it. We will, can we get an adoption of the agenda? I would like to, okay, so he already added the budget to the agenda, so we don't need to make a change to that since we actually have material to cover today, but, any changes to the budget?
Nope.
Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Okay, second, anyone?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, so let's, review minutes from last, council meeting.
I did have a point for minutes from last meeting.
Okay,
I am not present in the roll call, but I make plenty of motions, so I need to be added to
How do
the
you
roll call.
thank you.
sense of that? I think there was a spelling item. SWOT analysis is SWOT, S-W-O-T, an acronym. I think it's usually all capitalized. Do we have any staff here tonight?
We have representation, well,
Well, yeah,
it's
fair
being
enough,
recorded
but-
by our village,
Right,
in-
right.
inspector.
Okay.
As we need to have at least a staff member, here to record our minutes, and so,
No Evan or administrator?
No.
Okay.
What page is the, is your revision on?
this vote,
My revision?
Yeah,
So I think it's on page 4. Yeah, it is at the top of the page.
oh, okay.
okay. Any other revisions? There's a few word changes, but I'm not, they didn't change the meaning, so, or just words a few things differently, but, for me at least. All right, can I get a motion to accept the minutes as amended, by,
Motion to accept
Paul,
the minutes,
Pete?
motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. All right, so review of budget. So, we do have a few months of budget to just double check on. As you know, our fiscal year ends in, July. So we are only partway through, this year's, about halfway through, this year's budget. Not a lot of expenses, some expenses in November for the public hearing notices. And then December, we were pretty heavy on public hearing notices, as you remember.
Wasn't there going to be some investigation about if we can use a different newspaper that save money?
Yes,
Was
that's
that-
an open question with the
Is that
administrator.
ever figured
Yeah,
out yet?
it's a good one, you know, when you
Yeah.
find out.
We'll ask the
That's pretty
question.
substantial for
Yes.
not a whole lot going on.
So there are state requirements with regards to the distribution, but like it has to have a minimum amount of public distribution, but
Right.
I don't know anyone in our village that receives the newspaper we announce the public hearings in.
Right,
So yes,
might as well be an out-of-state
The
newspaper.
State law says 300 feet, our ordinance says 1,000 feet for public hearing notices. We do put it into the Oakland Press web page. So it gets distributed to that, which is apparently now allowed because they don't actually print a newspaper anymore.
Uh,
And very good, most people don't. But we do use the Oakland Press for those notifications. And they're posted here on this building, and I believe they're posted also at the library.
Yeah,
right.
right.
And those are, but the biggest cost is the Oakland Press, and I'm wondering, we we had talked about if the Eagle was cheaper, because it's actually probably more red,
That's something you'd want to discuss with.
Which is-
Evan.
it came up last month.
One of the
Oh,
last
yeah,
couple
Maybe
months,
this is when we have to notice the people within 1,000 feet, that
that price is
US
associated with
post
that.
office fee can get up there.
Yes, but that's usually, these public hearings are for ordinance review, for public hearings, so it was the general broadcast, but what you're talking about is if we have,
That would be zoning.
a site plan review when they're, for a particular home, and,
Yeah, a general ordinance revision or amendment to the ordinance just gets noticed through the normal processes.
right,
A specific site plan gets sent to the people within.
Right, right. So it's not just building related, it's also planning related, yeah. But yeah, if there is some, I mean, I guess it would take looking into the language that we're bound
I think it
by.
was the distribution, what
Right.
percentage of
It doesn't have to
distribution
be,
they
I mean, it might have said print media at one time, well, you
Yeah.
know, we
There
could,
is an allowance in the law that I'm aware of, or I believe, that allows to advertise a synopsis of what is going to happen, is that correct?
Yes, that's what we
We
do.
don't have to print the whole thing out, we
Right.
can actually
Correct.
advertise a synopsis.
Yeah, that's what we do.
So, yeah.
so we're saving some money in that regard, but at the same time, is it a distribution cost, situation?
yeah, we could do some really cool stuff with the funds.
Yeah, what is that, like 1,500?
Well, yeah, I mean, just from this fiscal year alone, it's 17, almost 1,800, and our budget is 1,300 for public hearing notices, so, yeah. So, anyway, that's a good point. We'll have to request feedback on that for next month, to see if to give them a chance to look into an alternative. Any other questions about the budget that, you see?
Only one I have in general, for us with our packet, did we request the general ledger activity report as well?
No, we don't normally request it, but at the same time, I mean, it's okay in my mind to get that as well. It has a little bit more detail as to the line items.
Yeah.
It does have more detail with the line items, but it also includes stuff not relevant to, planning. That's why I was wondering.
Well, if it's not, I mean, if the numbers total for that time period, the December time period, or, right, yeah, the numbers don't line up exactly, so, we didn't make we didn't make a request for that much detail. We haven't gotten that much detail, but you're right, if we can remove any extraneous expenses, that aren't included, or we can just confirm with the treasurer that these are all expenses that because it's actually more than just that, it's October.
With October to December, it's including zoning, historic, other stuff, so.
Yeah.
But-
Just-
It could also be, this is an easier way for her to pull it up, so.
Yeah, probably true. But I think it's really valuable,
I'm not saying it's not valuable, I'm just saying, is it? I'm just saying in
right?
terms of
There's some
relevance.
extra
That's
stuff on there that's not relevant to us, but I think I would like to see this. I think it's interesting and valuable.
I agree.
Yep.
I know that you can look this information up, I believe, when the council approves,
Right.
Budget items or ticket items that they've paid checks on, so you can, it's just, this is filtered for us,
What-
or should be filtered for us.
Or at least
Yeah.
for the commissions or something, but what is general ledger
GL, yep.
activity? Yeah.
Correct.
It would be like, I mean, this would be a better conversation with the administrator here, so we can follow up with her later.
Not a problem.
Any other budget item review discussion points? Okay. We'll move on then for planning commission official report. Unfortunately, trustee Sally won't be here tonight, but I can go ahead and kind of stand in a little bit. The council is working towards a priority plan for their goals, since they've, now have another individual in council, and they've been talking about it since before he joined council. So the intent is for them to create some priorities for the village that they can all align on, and then those priorities will be shared with us, and hopefully direct some of the things that we work on as well. Other than that, I the master plan was not reviewed in the council meeting. Those of you who had a chance to watch council last Monday, not this last one, but the previous, but for this month, it was not reviewed because some of the name changes for the businesses that were listed in our master plan have changed since we wrote the master plan. And so there was an expressed interest from those companies to make it current, since it hasn't been set in stone. I think, Chris, did we confirm whether or not just a ledger, like a ledger update on that, on those names is all we need? Or-
Well, I was supposed to hear from Rachel, I haven't yet. The only two that I was aware of were the Oyster Bar and Eatery and Sens Commons.
Okay,
And I've made note of those, but I sent an email to Rachel to ask her if there are any others that she was aware of that needed to be changed before I send it to our art director, because the document is in something that's called InDesign, so our art director has to make the changes now.
okay. So, all right, well then, yeah, let me know. I mean, I don't think, as far as content-wise, I believe that is the only material content change that that's being requested from council, from the village administrator to update the master plan.
Right.
So if it doesn't, I mean, if it doesn't need to come back to us for additional approval, then, I mean,
I don't think it does. I think though it's just, those sort of typographical type things that need to be taken care of, and
okay,
it doesn't change the content at all.
okay. All right, they have still similar purpose for the paragraphs that they're in anyway. So, all right, and then those are the main things I wanted to bring up. And then, so commissioners, are there any points that you would like to bring up? Sarah?
I do. I took some time over the break, and I sort of revisited a lot of our past meetings, not only in planning, but I think Franklin-wide and all of the auxiliary groups and councils and committees we all sit on. And as you guys know, I'm a social worker at heart, so I really look at things with intention of like, are we doing the best by the roles we are in? And I kind of wanted to share a little bit with that in mind as we look into how we approach things in 2026, just as a village. And this is at least my perspective, and I hope maybe you agree, or I hope that. But I wanted to share a little bit about that, and just say that looking forward to this year, I want to take a moment to speak on our shared responsibility as public servants and community members, no matter what role we serve in. Whether we engage through governance, volunteer leadership, or showing up as residents and offering public comment, we are all part of the same system, and we are all neighbors. The way we engage with one another sets a tone for the civic life throughout our village and reflects who we are as a community, as well as the reputation we hold within the larger region in which we live. Our work is strongest when it's grounded in public input, guided by the master plan, and informed by respectful, thoughtful dialogue. Disagreement is inevitable and necessary, and when approached with curiosity and respect, it helps us understand the full scope of our decisions and make better choices. Public trust grows when processes are clear, roles are respected, and our interactions reflect the values we expect from one another. As public servants, we are responsible not only for outcomes, but for the culture and example we create along the way. Collaboration is not automatic. It requires intention. When we engage in the process together, listening and learning from one another, we gain a deeper appreciation for the time, care, and expertise each person brings. That mutual respect strengthens relationship and expands what we can achieve for the residents. The diversity of perspectives in our community is an asset. Different backgrounds, experiences, and viewpoints help us to be more proactive through the policy we create, more inclusive in our approach, and more thoughtful and kind in how our decisions affect our neighbors. Seeing one another as partners rather than adversaries makes our work stronger. And I speak for myself in that the work I know we've done collaborating with each other and other groups has been the most impactful work I have done on planning. We don't need to dwell on the challenges from the past, but we do have a responsibility to learn from them. Lessons about communication, accountability, and support for one another help our institutions stabilize and grow stronger over time. As we move into this year, it's my hope that we all can commit across all roles to strengthening collaboration, deepening the trust within ourselves and the public, our work with openness and respect. Doing so will lead to better decisions, stronger relationships, better neighbors, and a village that is well served through those entrusted to lead. I remain committed to that spirit and supporting all of those governance practices, and I think that that will help us be who we aspire to be as a village.
Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, hear, hear. Any other comments? It's hard to follow that. Thank you, sir. Zoning liaison, do you mind standing in for Linda and give a report on what happened in the last zoning meeting, Bill? Do you mind standing? It's easy, it might be easier for them to hear you on the camera. Thanks,
I
sorry.
don't mind at all. There are two issues that are up right now. One is the most recent zoning board meeting. Actually, it was a sign board of appeals meeting. The Sens Commons ground sign did not meet the ordinance, so it was denied, which is what I do. It went to, at the last Historic District Commission meeting, went there, they blessed it. Then it goes to and went to the zoning, or sign board of appeals, of which it did get approved by them. It met the criteria for having extenuating circumstances around where the sign was to go, like there was no place to put it. So they did grant that variance. So that's what happened with those two. I attend both of those groups every month, or when they have meetings anyway. The other issue that was dealt with by the Historic District Commission is we had an application for the demolition of a house on Inkster Road, 30430, which is on the southern part. It's like 3 lots north of the south boundary line for Franklin. Went to the Historic District Commission. They found it had no historic value and recommended its approval. That is now on its way to the Village Council, which will hear this on February the 9th.
Okay.
Once they approve it, because the applicant has met all the standards set forth. They actually turned in a really nice application for it, pictures, all the appropriate documentation. It's a JKIZY company. They're actually building a house, if you drive down Franklin Road, just south of Portland. They're building one of those houses there right now. It's a builder in the area, and they do really nice work. But he has supplied the appropriate information. I suspect that the village council should have no issue with it, but that's their decision, obviously. Once that's approved, they're going to move forward. The intent there is to build a new house on that property. There are separate or individual owners of that property. It's not just a builder. So they will be building a house for the owners. And the indication was that it will most likely be of a Tudor style or something more of a conservative type, not a contemporary white box window building. So
Do you know why it went to the Historic Commission?
every demolition, by ordinance, every demolition permit where a building is reduced, the square footage of the building is reduced by 50% or more over a period of time is required to follow the process.
Okay.
Do you know what year that house was built that's being
Don't
demolished?
recall. I don't recall.
I think it's one of the 50s ranches. Is that right? It's kind of a ranch.
There's a couple right in that row there that were one of the, or of the 50 ranch
Yeah,
vintage, but it really had no historic value per se.
right. What was what was it height off the ground that you had to vary on the sign issue?
No, the sign was set back.
Oh, yeah.
The ordinance says that a ground sign is required to be 5 feet from the property line. and on that property, the actual property line is the building side of the sidewalk. In other words, you can pretty much find out where the property line is because a sidewalk runs right down that line. Well, if you're familiar with that building, which probably most of you are, you probably drive by it all the time, there's 2 split rail fences that are in the green belt, or, well, I guess it's a green belt. That's the technical term for it. I think it has wood chips
walking
in
path.
it, but either way. That whole space is barely 3 foot wide. So to meet the 5 foot setback, the sign would have to be actually put in the first parking space.
Okay.
So they would lose a parking space. And the zoning board of appeals felt that, I mean, it wasn't a self-created issue, but it was kind of a hardship for the property in that they met the requirements to indicate that there was a purpose for the variance.
Thank you.
So,
I appreciate it.
all right?
And now we can open up to public comments. We don't really have anyone in the public, unfortunately. But they are always welcome. Please come to our meetings.
We're not live on YouTube, are we?
We are not, no.
Well, they're all gonna be watching it on YouTube later. so-
Yes, please come. It's. Oh, we are? Even better. Okay, thank you for confirming.
Hey, Village.
Yay.
Shout out to my mom.
I'll ask later. When did that change over? Okay, so no public comments, we'll close public comments. So now we go to old business. McKenna sent us a memo with regards to the request we had of prioritizing, grouping, and helping us to determine where to start our nuisance and blight abatement ordinances. Chris, do you mind just giving an overview for?
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna direct my comments, focus my comments on pages 1 and 6. But basically, you'll recall at the December meeting, we received a document in which 5 of the village trustees had noted whether ordinance revisions are warranted to address the nuisances we have been discussing. And I have revised the table from my previous letter by adding 2 columns. The 5th column in the table indicates the number of yes votes each nuisance received. Nuisances that received 4 or 5 yes votes are shaded in yellow. And the 6th column categorizes each nuisance, so be it safety, environmental, or visual. So now there's a degree of uncertainty when interpreting the village council's rankings. For example, when a trustee noted no action was needed, did the trustee mean that he or she was satisfied with the current regulations, or did the trustee mean that he or she did not want the particular nuisance addressed in the code? Also, I noted that there apparently was a misunderstanding with respect to dumpsters. This issue applies only to commercial dumpsters, or was meant to, but I believe the village council members may have thought it applied to residential trash receptacles as well. So in the table, when I revised the table, I added the word commercial for clarification. Now, rather than go through the whole table and talk about each of the shaded elements in the table, I'd like to turn your attention to page 6, which outlines the conclusions. Based on the information provided in the table, I suggest that the Plan Commission should focus on the following nuisances. Number 16, which is the existence of a no longer habitable dwelling, and number 17, incomplete construction, are safety and visual concerns that are related and should be addressed together. So I think because these are safety issues, I think those are important. And those were both ranked 4 or 5. And so they're top concerns. Number 2, number 15, noxious vegetation and long grass growth is a health issue related to asthma as well as a visual concern. And that was noxious vegetation and long grass growth, it's hard for me to say, is one of the issues that brought this whole issue of nuisance to the forefront. Then number 22, hazardous material incidents is an important one, is both a health and safety concern. Number 6, storage of building materials. Number 7, litter. And number 8, accumulation of rubbish or garbage should be addressed as a group. They're all related, are similar issues. And these are all visual concerns that can evolve into health and safety concerns. But they start out as visual concerns. Number 1, inoperable junk or abandoned motor vehicles. And number 2, inoperable recreation vehicles, equipment, and watercraft. Number 4, inoperable machinery and equipment should be addressed as a group. They're related. These are visual concerns, but they're also environmental concerns because these sorts of things raise concern about leaking oil and other fluids, and they're also safety concerns. And then finally, number 14, pollution of any lake, stream, or well is a health and environmental concern. And then, so those are all the ones that are highlighted in the table, are in yellow in the table. Then there are 2 nuisances that I recommend that the village council reconsider because I believe they are of greater importance than initially thought. And number 5, dumpsters. I've clarified in the table that this item applies only to commercial districts, and Franklin's requirements for dumpster screening are inadequate and are seriously in need of being upgraded. And then number 12, dangerous conditions for children. This is one that Sarah had pointed out in her memo. These are essential nuisance regulations. They're found almost in every community's code book, so I was sort of dumbfounded when the council didn't highlight this one. But really should be at the top of the list, really. So those are my conclusions and recommendations.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for him before we start discussing priorities for these?
So is it, I guess what is your thought on the, are we looking at language, specific language? Some of these would require understanding the language that we would add for, say, dumpster screening.
Yeah, all of them would require revisions to the ordinance in
Like-
order to accomplish what we want to accomplish.
Well, but many of them do refer to ordinances that exist already, so this is
Right.
covered in these areas. Are some of them adequate, or do they all need to be embellished?
They all need to be embellished,
Okay.
yes.
Sarah, since you've done a significant amount of legwork on this, would you feel comfortable proposing priorities based upon the 6 to 8 recommendations that McKenna, for at least how you would see us prioritizing these 8 different these 8 different groups into highest to lowest priority? We can talk about complexity, whether or not it's an easy change or not an easy change, but at least first I'd like to at least kind of get an idea of what the work you've done already, would how you would prioritize it, if you feel comfortable sharing?
Yeah, so this was done before Chris's clarification on a couple of those items, but this is how I think he also interpreted sort of the same document. We both looked at how those 5 rating systems went, and then I also compared what our village's current standing policies and ordinances are on these items, comparing them to very similarly run or sized neighborhoods near us. I looked at Bingham Farms, Pleasant Ridge, and Milford, and just in their language of these things. So on right after Chris's page 6, I have based on those reviewing of all of that, I sort of outlined those high priority items that everyone the council deemed high priority as also the things that I saw that we can easily just add some like time-bound things in there and make sure that we're just calling out specific things in order to just make sure that these high priority items are addressed. So it is on that next page. I know we looked at like those dangerous conditions we talked about, and I think we can also look at that as part of that, the number 12 that Chris just highlighted, as well as the inoperable vehicles and equipment, hazardous materials, the habitable dwellings and construction, and the accumulation of rubbish and garbage. Those really, I think, paired in with some of the safety issues that I know that the council was looking at, and things that we can really address and give hopefully some meat into those ordinances so that we can make
So,
safer
And
communities.
just as a guideline for this discussion, we could probably only work on 2 or 3 ordinances at a time, if we're gonna give them the due diligence to be thorough. I wouldn't wanna do more than 3 at a time, barely 2 at least 2 at a time. And so if you were to take this list of 8 and you were to say, which ones should what should the first 2 be, what would you recommend? And then we'll open up to discussion. So, okay.
I actually think that this is a great opportunity to ask in terms of like the call-in and the level of which we're seeing these ordinances, maybe deal with some of those, look at the ones that are in that high priority and ask, you as the expert here of like, what are the ones that we're seeing a lot of that we can really, if we can take 2 to make a big impact, I think that would be my priority of just being able to say like, these are the clear issues that we're currently having, let's look at those right now.
Okay.
Question on the dangerous condition for children. What'd you find on that one that we're lacking? Because that would be maybe.
But
a
we
top
don't
priority.
even address it in our ordinance.
So that seems like an easy win.
Yeah.
to add.
It seems like health and safety is more important than grass. I guess grass goes to asthma, but like,
Grass is part of the health safety.
yeah, so it's like, that one's kind of on the edge, but like unsafe buildings versus screening garbage. I think screening garbage is important, but like, I would think the health and safety, polluting lakes, but there's still several of those.
So, Bill, are you seeing, or code enforcement, please, not Bill,
Thank you
Please.
so much for being here, by the way.
Sure, my
Beth.
pleasure.
could you state your name, because if we are live.
Sure, I'm Don Vogren.
Thank you, Don.
Code Enforcement Officer. Appreciate your comments, Sarah. Thank you. Because it really is a neighborhood, we're neighbors. So, all this stuff we're gonna do for black and white, code enforcement, I use a softer hand usually, so we can talk about priorities, but just because we have an ordinance doesn't mean I'm banging on the door day one and saying you've got to get that thing out of there today. So, I try to use, common sense and a softer approach. But going back to the comment, as far as what we see a lot of is the pods that hang around for a long time. If there's a project that Bill has a permit on, start, end date, yeah, okay, that's explainable. But some are going on for forever. They're just considered, I consider them to be accessory buildings without a permit. And, but that's not the way the code is written right now. So I'd like to get them,
Yeah, that's actually not, we don't really have it called out exactly on our list clearly, but yeah.
just like a RV, just like a boat, their trailer, those are pretty clear. And I've had really no problem once I call out to somebody, they've got to go, almost always they go. So whether they're operable or not, to me, they're visually the same. So they should really, yes.
I guess from my better understanding, when you refer to pods, my mind thinks.
The moving
The moving
containers.
pods, like you have
Yes.
a U-Haul and they put up
Yes.
property? Okay, okay, that's what I was thinking.
Right.
So you mean related to construction?
Usually, but in some cases, people have used them kind of to move my things out of the house, to get them out of my way.
spare
I don't want to
bedroom.
rent a storage unit someplace, so I have it on property.
Okay, yeah, that is valid.
And they don't look good,
No.
you know, for an extended period of time. So I'd like to see that dealt with. As far as the dumpsters, we call them rubbish containers, which is an old term that doesn't really mean what we want it to mean. Dumpster should be the selected word, I think, and make sure the words indicate you can't have a dumpster if you're not in the commercial district. You can still see your trash cans next to your house. I'm not gonna suggest we need to police that, because a lot of people have their trash cans visible from the road. If we wanna go there, that's gonna be a lot.
Right, but then a construction dumpster or anything that's used for
Right.
large,
Which
falls
those
under, I
should
think
tie
our
to
pod's
a-
also similar.
They should tie to a project, you know, and not just, I want them for,
Right,
you know, permanent use.
okay.
We've got some of that. As far as littering and blight, to me, I wouldn't put that at the top of the list, just because I think littering captures a lot of that. And I have dealt with some residents on a littering basis that is, for all intents and purposes, was blight related. But going back to the neighborhood concept, there are people that are not necessarily mentally 100%. So I've got to, again, the soft hand, the trying to understand their perspective, the trying to, you know, get compliance without coming across as a, you know, a tough, you got to do it or else. I take it personally to try to get it done without a ticket. I do write tickets, but I don't.
Right.
You kind of write your own. So,
I understood, with enough warning,
yeah,
they should be able to take care of it.
exactly. So, you know, those are the two big things right now that I would say if we can get that addressed. And then anytime we change it, I think we need to spell out how far back are we gonna go and say this pod was there. I can show you pictures, it was there on, you know, this
Right.
date 2 years ago, but if the ordinance doesn't spell out how to enforce an item that's been there too long from the past,
Just from, I don't know if you've looked at other communities or seen other communities, how they handle it, but is there a set duration that you've seen or heard of from other communities with regards to those type of pods or moving pods, like a week, a month?
again, I would tie it to a building permit duration.
Okay,
And if-
Or a time period by which somebody's getting ready to move or has just moved in and they're unloading. But the same thing with your recreational vehicle, you're allowed X amount of hours for the getting it ready and getting it unready when you get back.
right, right.
There should be a time frame involved. Pods, I think, Don was using as a
Like Kleenex.
typical what we see, but, I work with numerous other communities, and I just worked with one that just, made shipping containers a non-allowable, product to get a yard in a residential district.
Were they using those for building structure, or are they using them for just storage?
Just storage. So like Don said, they end up being that for,
Okay.
because they don't wanna buy a shed, or they don't wanna spend the money for a nice looking building to put their stuff in. Actually, Independence Township has one very specific, as recently as a few months ago, I helped Springfield Township get an ordinance that, makes those, to be in violation of the ordinance, they don't allow.
Not even for moving or,
given it an X amount of period of time. You get
Okay.
72 hours or,
Okay.
you know, a week or whatever the case is.
But you know, is the distinction between a shipping container and a pod, did they make that distinction? I guess, because, you know, the shipping containers,
They put it in one group,
okay.
and they give it X amount of time to be there, and then it's.
Okay.
Right, because I would think here we wouldn't, generally, there's no reason to have a shipping container.
Well, if
you
you-
know, it's really funny, some people, you wouldn't think it, but if you don't spell it out,
Right.
Yeah.
people do it, and then once you get them, how do you get rid of them, like I'm saying? You know, we've got them that have been out there, the pods have been there. I mean, eventually, you gotta pay for that pod, so I'm sure at one
Right.
point in time in the future, you're gonna wanna do something with it.
Right, but at the same time, if you don't pay for your storage unit, they end up disposing of your things anyway. If it's sitting on your property, then
We gotta come get it.
you gotta come get it.
But I think it'd be good to spell it out, and be clear what we're talking about, and what it means, and define what the possibilities are.
I mean, we charge for building permits,
Right.
so in this case, we might consider a fee for that pod to sit on your property, so much a month, times whatever number of pods. Basically, you know, we could write a ticket, get $150 ticket, $200 ticket. But if you can get there with a fee, that might help police it too.
Okay.
What would you say that is the, you know, number of pods we have in the village at any?
I would say probably 10.
Wow.
Oh,
Ish.
That's, wow, that's more than I thought. I've only seen one.
I think I have two just in my neighborhood. And one I can see from my front yard in someone else's neighborhood. Like, so
Wow.
that's three I can see
Yeah.
just
Okay.
within.
All right. Fair enough.
Those don't really fall under any of the categories.
I know, so
here.
that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna ask you. So, can you, say what the, where did you say you guys did that ordinance for? So I can look that up.
Art, spring.
Independence Township?
Independence? I wanna,
Springfield, they both
Okay.
have ordinances that deal with.
So we need to bring that to council, is that something you would?
Yeah,
share with
I'd
them?
bring it to council as something, I mean, well, council's already mentioned to me, is on the side, but not in council meeting to discuss pods. So,
But that, we could potentially add this to. the
but we
list.
could add it to the, I feel safe adding it to the list, and bringing it to them and saying this is one of the first priorities we take on. I don't feel like they would have any problem with us focusing on that. It seems like low hanging fruit for the most part. And I will know by the next meeting whether or not they reject it as a priority. So, I'm okay with that. Is that our number one priority though? Or do we want to also do the number 12, dangerous conditions for children? And that might take a while, because I think there's gonna be some researching that's going along. But that could be, we could do those in parallel.
What kind of things are we talking about?
What does that mean? So for example, if you have a swimming pool and.
That's already covered.
Okay. But
We
what
have
if it's rain-
fencing or, you know, the appropriate
Everything
cover.
Covered by state law.
Everything from refrigerators or containers that are left out that children can get into, or to excavations, to
Right.
anything that is attractive to children that is dangerous to them.
Because I know that our neighbor that's doing construction and have excavated a significant amount of land out there, and made huge holes, they have it completely fenced in, though not very well, but there is a fence that exists. That's part of building code, though, I believe.
Yeah, it's not part of the building code, but it was something that the fence ordinance did address.
Yeah,
The fence
we added
ordinance
that.
says you can't have open excavations without protecting it. It didn't really define what that means. And I mean, I've kind of taken it upon myself, if you get a long-term construction project, fence the property and you can rent fencing.
Yes.
And for short-term or real quick additions or that type of thing, at least at minimum, a snow fence around that area, at least to try to protect it from kids.
Right.
So right now,
On a
all we,
long-term basis, it's going to be regular chain link type fencing, which the ordinance does allow.
so right now it's only for excavated holes
Yep.
We gotta have a fence for an excavated hole, but not for a work site.
Technically, after the backfill's done and the house has doors and is secured so that it can't just be wandered into, I think that meets the intent of what the ordinance meant about excavations and open hole and that type of stuff.
But it doesn't account for an open, house is being framed and is open to the elements.
Oh, it needs to be fenced
Yeah.
until such time as they can put doors and locks on it.
All right, so I mean, we have that protection now, yeah. Because I would say too, I think it's illegal to put a refrigerator out at your trash with a
Well,
door on it.
not,
The door off it. You
Right,
have to take the door.
right.
where does it say that in our ordinance?
I think
I
it's a
don't think it
state,
does.
I thought it was a state
It may
law.
not.
I don't think it does in our ordinance.
Okay.
I think,
It's lacking in our ordinance.
I think maybe the smart thing is that we keep this one as a high priority one for us, but we take the time, like, to look at all of those other pieces of defining that. Like, this may be like one kind of that you said, Stuart, of that it has to be ongoing, that we call it out and maybe find all of those little instances within our ordinances and sort of bundle them all together in like a space to just call it out very clearly, because we know that other municipalities do that in a very specific way of like, hey, we're just covering our bases here for them, and maybe that's one we just keep going back to and sort of refining what that looks like based on what we already have, and then look at sort of some of those other examples, as Chris pointed out, that other places do this, we just aren't doing it in this way, and maybe we can sort of beef that up a little bit and just call it out separately, but maybe that one is just like ongoing as we sort of keep looking at it, and I'm happy to sort of keep diving into that.
I mean, it seems like we don't want to take the ordinance out of the fencing section and put it into a child protection section, so it almost might be, we might just reference other areas.
Yeah, but like
Yeah,
pulling
but
all
like-
of those instances, so that
All
way
the
we can
instances,
easily
yeah.
say, I think, there's something I think it's like, it's easier if you just say like, yes, please reference this here, than someone having to dig through the ordinances, because ours, the way they're set up on the online platform, isn't as easy to search through as many of the other places that I looked at. Like, you really had to know what you were looking for. It's not like as accessible. So would just say like, you want it to be easy to find and understand.
I think the terminology makes it most difficult, because we do use American legal for our codification of the ordinances. And up the top of their site, once you get into the Franklin one, there's a search thing, and I do it all the time. You wanna know about a fence, I just type in fence, and I mean, the whole thing's there. So, I mean, not to discount what you're saying.
No, I'm saying, like, if you don't know, like, if a resident doesn't know how to do that, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I
Like,
get
that's,
calls all the time.
I'm just saying accessibility wise.
I am forever explaining to people how to use that system, and when they get done, they go, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
We're in the process also of getting some of the ordinances that hadn't been included correctly into American legal done right now. There's a couple that lack, but Evan and I are working together to get that straightened around and get that online like it should be.
So,
Because I get calls all the time, people go, this is what it says, and I'm going, yeah, but that's not the ordinance that got passed, so we're working on that.
Okay.
So,
good to know.
All right, so just opening it up then, so which two will we prioritize and take to council? Given this list of the priorities that we looked at, what are the first two we want to work on?
I guess
It sounds like,
go ahead, Paul.
no, sorry, Pete. Well, it looks like the sound of adding pods
Okay.
is important. I guess from the understanding of dumpsters as well, might be a good addition. And for probably the last one being hazardous materials.
Okay,
This is my opinion,
Yeah.
first top three.
We have a noxious weed ordinance right now.
Yeah, but
Right.
there's concerns about the
Right,
height of weeds, and
Yeah.
there's problems with it.
I mean, there's a lot of people do no mow May as well, though.
yeah, we have an 8-inch requirement. However, there's a number of lots that aren't cut and manicured like lawns.
So we're essentially,
So-
Knox vegetation needs a review more than a rewrite.
But, yeah, and then, because before Don got here, I did some of that enforcement. And it gets tricky, because, yeah, a yard that's manicured, cut, and all that, okay, that's easy. But when you have a house on the edge of a hill that the people don't cut it, the natural vegetation grows,
Yeah.
Right.
and some
Well,
people like that.
And for the last, I don't know, since I moved in, pretty much the last 9 years, the village has been sending emails, and for a long time it was sending emails about the virtues of a rain garden, and how having increased vegetation growth actually improves capture of water for your well and for vegetation in and the health of the aquifers that we have, and the pollinators in the area. So there's a little bit of contradiction with regards to how we would tackle that with regards to priorities
I
or
have a
interpretation.
question on that too, just like the manicured, perfectly looking lawn and the chemicals that they dump onto those lawns that seep into the water that we're drinking from the well, which is,
Right.
I mean, if we should ban those manicured lawns and all the chemicals and,
Well, I've been here for 22 years. And when I first got here, the village was very strict about making sure that you didn't fertilize within 50 or 75 feet of the river.
Yeah.
They were very protective of that, which made perfect sense. I don't know that there was an ordinance that said you couldn't, but they
Yeah.
were very active to make sure that that didn't happen.
Right, yeah. That's, I mean, our watershed, you know, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be everyone in the village, but the folks who you can demonstrate have, you know, drainage paths into the watershed. You know, I know it didn't get a ton of votes, but to me, that's a pretty big one. And the well issue, you know, I'm not sure that fertilizer makes its way into the water table, actually, but,
Surface water for sure.
pardon me?
It does go into surface water for sure.
Certainly in the groundwater, but I don't know that it gets into the aquifer. I mean, we have shallow wells. I know we have 30-foot wells in places, old ones, so who knows what water they're pulling in. But, yeah, I mean, I guess, Bill, you're, like, we probably never had an ordinance, but I don't know, it must have been something that,
Very active to. there was a
discourage
very
it.
Active watershed group that was here for a long time that really promoted not to do that.
Right,
It may be something that you do need an ordinance or something, but the whole village is a watershed to the Rouge River.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, no matter where you go, it's got numerous different ways to get there because we have the wetlands map that shows exactly how that happens.
yeah, yeah.
And it all ends up going under Telegraph Road down
Right.
there.
Yeah,
at,
or-
Helmondale and.
There's other
away it goes
drains.
from there.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Quincy, do you have your top 3 priorities that you would
I
like to
mean,
share?
I would think my top 3 priorities would be to get the ones out of the way that are the easiest. I think these discussions about the children is gonna be really tough. I think suing some of the pollution things could be tough. I think spring is around the corner, might be nice to get grass out of the way. We could get, if there's already some great examples for these sheds and pods, that could get knocked out of the way. Maybe tie that in with abandoned vehicles. So we would kind of do a few of those and kind of get those, because an abandoned vehicle, an abandoned building, you know, we could work those out and do grass at the same time. But I think we could get just lost in discussion on some of these and just not get, spring's around the corner, it'd be nice to have people have those things done, but
Okay,
those would be my thoughts.
thank you. Pete?
So, pods seems like an easy one and something that has come along in recent years. And I guess, I think the children one is hard, but, I mean, who can oppose it? But it just seems like, what will that amount to that we don't already have in there? So, I guess my third one is, like, number 14 says pollution of any lake, stream, or well. And then we have one that specifically is 25 says fertilizer. So I guess those are my other 2 that I think are important.
Okay, thank you. Sarah?
I think the pods is a good one, and then I think the construction and the incomplete construction is a good one to do, especially coming up where we know that that's going to come up in the spring with people doing it. I know I can look around many places that construction's been going on in that, same house for years and hasn't moved. And I think maybe we look at that of what that could look like or what that's supposed to look like, or how can we help our residents really figure that out.
That's true.
I add to that, just for input, that construction that has a building permit issued to it then falls under the governance of the building code, which is actually a state law. So as long as that building code is active, I think you'll find it pretty hard to pass an ordinance to make something happen with that. I agree, some of these projects take a long time, but some of these projects are complicated. Some of these houses being built in Franklin are equal to any commercial building I've ever seen. So,
My point on it was, I know that there are many construction zones where the neighbors are just looking at a porta potty for years because they just haven't finished it. And it's not that they can't live there, it's just that it just keeps going on and on and on. And I think we need to look at okay, what can we do to help be good neighbors? What are those sort of pieces? That's kind of how I'm looking
I
at it.
talk to builders all the time. I can tell you 2 or 3 of them right now. I know which one you're probably talking about. The house on Fair Road. At the corner of Eighth Street.
Yeah.
That house is, for the most part, complete, except for the owners will not tell the builder what kitchen cabinets they want. And I can't issue a certificate to occupy a house that doesn't have a kitchen. And as long as they continue to make some progress, it doesn't have to be a lot by code, but as long as they continue to show progress, I can't invalidate their permit.
Yeah.
Now, if a project is totally abandoned, like nobody's around, that permit's still active for 180 days. That's 6 months. And I can't undo it until that time. And then what we end up with is a house that doesn't have a permit on it, and then what do we do with the house? Okay, trust me, I encourage these builders to get these things done, and actually the ones I talk to, they would love to get done, because they'll get paid, and they'll be on their way. So,
Right.
it's a quandary. And I don't disagree with not wanting to look at it. But you take the house on 13 Mile.
The seizure?
It's a running joke in our.
We're on 15 years now for that
Running
one?
joke here.
Yeah.
However, it's been through multiple phases.
Yeah.
We're finally fortunate enough that a village resident is actually having it finished, albeit taking forever to get in and done too. But you'd be surprised what's in that house. That house is one of the houses that I was referring to that is complicated enough to be a commercial building.
Right.
That house has a 25-foot deep basement.
Wow.
As well as a couple others with basketball courts and swimming pools, infinity edge swimming pools, and I could go on and on, but it's taken that long to get it done.
So in,
I empathize with the neighbors that have to look at it, I really do. I mean, but they're working on it.
yeah, and Chris, I got a question for you just about,
Oh, can we get Jeremy's priorities real quick?
Yeah,
'Cause
sure,
that-
sure.
And then we can go
Yep.
from there.
I think the child one is a sensible one to try to add, if there's anything missing.
So just, that's, okay. All right, cool. Okay.
so, yeah, my question was just when we have a building code or a state code, what is it, the IRC? I'm not sure what our code is, the residential building code.
Residential, yeah.
The, our ordinances, can they basically add on to those? Like if we wanted to say something?
No, you can't supersede the Michigan building.
Right. So even if we wanted to try to get language.
They have it changed, but good luck.
Right. I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean,
Really,
because
that wouldn't be practical.
you'll be taken to court and you will lose.
So,
You have to go to, what body do you have to
You
go
have to go to
to?
the Bureau of Construction Code.
Yeah.
you gotta get the
right,
construction
that's
code.
okay, we're not gonna pursue that activity. Sorry.
Shouldn't we vote on it?
No, well, I mean.
I'm kidding, I'm
let-
kidding.
It sounds like there's more details that we have to figure out right now, and we would have to navigate that more in depth. I'd rather come more prepared to make that decision with more information than discussing it right now in here in this meeting. Based on what I understand, and that I think could be comfortable taking to council, and from your input as well, I would consider that the pods, I'll raise that as one of the options and make that part of number 5 from conclusions, which is the including inoperable junk, abandoned motor vehicles, number 2, recreational vehicles, and number 4. I think those lump pretty well together potentially, as being something that's an eyesore that sits on the outside of the building of a home or structure, and can be, it's all going in the same location in the ordinance anyway. Since all of these nuisance and blight ordinances will go into the same section eventually anyway. So I think that made sense to me. And then, the noxious vegetation and lawn growth, that one, I think we need some clarity from council, but I think that could be something we could get at least clarity on, get started with council, what that means. And then for me, I think number 6, 14, or number 14, which is 6 on the conclusions of pollution, health, and environment concerns. Does anyone have any objections to those 3 being our final decision, or do we need an arm wrestle, or what? Or is there anything else that I'm
I
missing?
think that's good. I think what,
I didn't quite
Was that 3
understand.
or
You
4?
wanted to include pods with number 5?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
positive 5.
okay.
And then, but group 4 and 5 together, you said?
No, sorry, no. It would be conclusion number 5 would also include.
Oh, it
Pods.
includes number 4 on the, is that what you were saying?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, so conclusion number 5 would also include pods.
Okay.
And then we would do conclusion number 6, which is the pollution of any lakes, streams, or wells. And then also the number 2, in preparation of spring, with regards to final direction from council on what do we want to do? Do we want to have, do we want to do rain gardens? Do we want to do long lawns? How do we give guidance to
Yeah.
our villagers as to what is appropriate and what is not?
I mean, is the pollution of waters going to go as far as, I know the issue of artificial turf has come up before things. So like, I mean, how far is that going to expand into, like, asphalt driveways could be just as bad. Like, I mean,
That's true.
I think that would be very important, but it just, we would need to have some sort of boundary, like, do we want to have, are we talking like within a certain distance of a waterway or within, I don't know, it just seems like that one could just take forever.
I guess the,
You could-
understanding our water quality might be,
I mean, do we have water quality issues? Do we have?
that's what I'm
do we have
saying,
certain
right?
pollutants?
It sounds like,
I
you
don't
know,
know.
I know there are people who love to fertilize their lawns, you know, and it's their right to fertilize their lawns and have green grass. You know, boy, I don't see it as being draconian, but, I mean, I grew up when, you know, we used to swim in Walnut Lake, it was wonderful, and somewhere in the 70s, we got like E. coli outbreaks. And, you know, it happened when all these neighborhoods went up. It might also have been a sewage pumping station, I don't even know. But trying to understand that a little, and then we could decide.
Yeah, I just don't know what the issues that we have with water.
Yeah, I mean, nitrogen
water-
is
I
a
think of more.
huge,
I was thinking more fertilizer and what
Right, so I mean, that,
how we're polluting
it's
surface
just, you
water.
could expand it into
Right.
anything.
So
Would be the only
is
help.
there another one besides number 6? So I've already got number 2 from conclusions and number 5 from conclusions, which also includes pods. Is there another one, or do you want to sit with those 2 for right now, mull it over a little
I
bit,
mean,
and
do
then
you
add
want
a
to
third?
ask council what they think about 6? Are there any issues that specific issues that they're aware of?
Okay.
Because they said that that was important, but like, I don't know if the issue is turf, or is the issue fertilizer,
Okay.
or is the issue
'cause if the
old
issue's
septic
turf-
tanks?
We can raise it
or
with them.
what the problem is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree with you, because if the issue's turf, we can literally tell them we already addressed that over 6 months last year.
Right.
So we just need to know what
Well,
that issue is.
I mean, we looked at something
Okay.
that you
I think
could
that would-
easily say was
Addressed.
bordering on minutia.
Yeah.
PFAS is very significant, but everywhere that I'm aware of, it's all around industrial plants. It's like it's not happening in the neighborhoods. But I guess, you know, there's no harm. There is some element of, because I do believe, if you look at the number of votes, you know, everyone, by and large, agreed on that. But I guess you would basically be running this by them and seeing, you know, if they want to guide us in a certain direction. Is that
Yep.
fair to say? Yeah.
Yeah.
Does
So you
anyone know
could bring
what,
up all the items that you had mentioned. I thought that was a good list.
does anyone know what section 1048.06 focuses on? Because that's the pollution one.
I can look it up.
It's in the regulatory part of the ordinance.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Because that might give us some guidance, I guess, on,
So this would be mostly strengthening that ordinance, right?
Right.
Yes,
so what's the focus of that ordinance, I guess? I'm not sure.
What was the code? What was the,
Well, it just says that it was yes in section 1048.06.
1048?
Well, the cliff note of it on the row there, basically just how it reads to me is, don't dump anything in a direct source of water, is how it reads.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. I mean, I think, Bill, one of you and I have talked about 1048, notification of spills,
We're almost there.
suspension of stormwater.
Stormwater management,
Yeah, but something, Bill, you and I talked about was the discharge of water softening systems.
yeah.
You know, I'd love to understand it better, but we really don't have a good way to discharge our, and I think there's widespread, you know,
One is that the ordinance, under the sewer ordinance, doesn't allow you to take your water softener discharge and put it into the grinder system,
right, right,
because that's not wastewater.
yeah.
They have
Salt water.
sulfur
And you're really
brine,
not-
But it isn't wastewater, so
Yeah.
you can't put it in there.
And you really can't put it on your lawn, well,
10.
you can't put, you don't wanna put it into the river. And if you put it on your lawn, it'll probably kill your lawn, but it may not.
Actually, mine doesn't, but
Right, right.
mine gets pumped out.
But I-
Some pump, there's enough water that it gets
Diluted.
diluted enough that it doesn't have a problem. But
Right,
I'm not saying that that couldn't happen, because it can,
Yeah.
but
Ten-
water softeners are a real problem, because how do you desalinate that water before you throw it outside?
yeah,
You know, that's a whole process in and of itself,
yeah.
so.
1048.06 is titled Discharge Prohibitions. Prohibition of illegal discharges. And it talks about discharge and flows from firefighting activities. Discharges, let's see, dye testing, MPDS permits. And it does talk about, water line flushing, discharges from potable water sources, landscape irrigation runoff, lawn watering and irrigation waters.
So that could be the fertilizing
Yeah.
runoff.
Pool water, is that in there?
Car washing, doesn't say anything about pool water.
We do, but,
Dechlorinized pool,
yeah.
swimming
Oh,
pool
yeah, it
water.
does say dechlorinated swimming pool water.
I think our ordinance says you have to have a permit for pool discharges, which is not true according to the state.
Oh, okay.
There's guidance around how to do it safely, but there's not a requirement for a permit as long as the pool's residential. Commercial, yeah, you have to have a permit.
Well, I mean, it says, yeah, it does say without a, I don't know what NPDES permit authorization is.
So maybe ask council if there's any specific sections or portions of that section
Right.
that they want us to focus on. Because I mean, that was, you said firefighting runoff and like, I mean, it's like everything.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be, well, I mean, that, we
Yeah,
just don't want to
okay.
spin our wheels that
Okay.
way, but yeah.
I think that's reasonable. Any questions or concerns about that? Those three? Okay, cool. I don't think we need a motion because we're just getting clarification from council.
So, if you'd like, I'll summarize that in my letter.
Yes, please. Okay. Then we will, the next point of business would be, our upcoming meeting is going to be held February 18th, 2026 at 7 PM.
I have one other piece of business.
Sure.
We usually do an annual report, which is required by law.
Okay.
Would you like me to put that together for the commission?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, this is our third year doing it.
We've done it, I think Sarah did it for a few years before me.
Yeah, I think that's right. I've just been here so long. It feels like it's only been a year since Sarah was
I mean,
here.
it seemed like we just did one, didn't we?
Well, last year we did one.
Yeah, we did it every year.
Annual report.
Yeah.
I think we just did this last year.
Feels that way with the master plan too. Didn't we just do that?
Right.
We
Yeah.
still haven't
Yes,
gotten
please, so
it
that we can present to the council.
Actually, I think it was summertime, I remember, but you added the
You
Pickers.
see,
They did,
Rachel
yes.
reminded her.
That was very important.
But I think
to me.
that was in the summer.
Yes,
I will.
it was important though.
All right. So,
Appreciated that, yeah.
do we need a motion to adjourn?
Wait, real quick.
Okay.
Can we get our, I don't know when I bring this up in our agenda, can we get our packets printed again? Like, I feel like we went back to virtual, and I feel like now we're all just staring at our phones trying to like follow it. Is there a way?
So, what I would recommend is if you want it printed, let Evan know ahead of time for it to be printed.
Okay, I know
I
that's how our
pref-
practice was, and then it stopped, and I was just like, did we?
He asked us a couple times ago, maybe.
I think one is a cost saving thing to not
Get
print.
it, I get it, but like, I hate that we're all just staring down. It doesn't feel as.
Well, I would be
engaging.
looking at the packet if I had it in front of me, but yeah,
Yeah.
I can make
Okay,
notes.
I will ask him at least for me, because
Okay.
I'm a paper person, if you can't. So,
We were just talking about
We were just saying where are our packets?
Where our packets, like, I don't think they're like, oh. It's like, oh, really? Okay.
I'm sorry, my preferences are not to print them, but that's, if you want one, then please let Evan know.
I like the paper.
Can we get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you're staying here if you do.
Good job, team.